All right, so I'm going to do this video in installments where I set up different pieces. Basically, I'm just going to create a couple scenes, navigate between them, and add some fun stuff in there, okay? So this is my main scene. I haven't created anything yet. I just created a 2D project, and that was it. So first things first, I'm going to create some scenes, okay? So I'm going to go New Scene. I'm going to control, well, let's just add really quick. I'm going to just add a 2D text that says, whoa, not there, sorry. I'm going to create a 2D text, and then I'm going to add something that says main menu. Okay, so there's just something in my scene. Okay, I'm going to control S to save this. This is going to be main menu, and I'm going to go into scenes and save that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go new scene. This time, because Text Mesh Pro is so much better, when I create a UI, I'm going to create one that is a text, but Text Mesh Pro. The first time you do this, it says, let's include the essentials. Let's go ahead and do that. Depending on what you're doing, you might want to pull in some of the essentials. So I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to change this one to say level 1. Or let's even be more clear. This is going to be my fireworks level. Okay, so I'm going to save as, and I'm going to go into scenes, and I'm going to add fireworks. Okay, and then I'm going to go, here's another new scene. I'm going to add another UI just so I know what I'm dealing with here. And this one is going to be my transform movement. Okay, and then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to control S, and I'm going to save this in scenes as transform movement. Okay, so now I got a couple different scenes. I'm going to go in, I'm going to delete my sample scene. So the very first thing I want to do are create some buttons. I'm not even going to bring in my sprites and stuff, but just in the main menu, I want to get some working buttons, okay? So right away, I'm going to change some settings. I'm going to set my aspect ratio here to always have an aspect ratio rather than free aspect. So now as I move this, it stays 16:9. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want a screen space overlay on the camera. So as I'm moving around the camera, the UI stays right on top of it. And I'm actually going to switch my UI to be Text Mesh Pro, and I'm going to get rid of the old one there. Okay, so this one's just going to say main menu. All right, so on here, I'm going to switch it to camera. I'm going to say, oh, this is the camera I want my canvas to stick to. All right, so my canvas for just this level is following the main camera. And the other thing I want is I want it to scale with screen size. Without that, as I change my size of my screen, notice the main menu text stays gigantic. I want it to actually scale so it stays in proportion to the screen. So I'm going to say scale with screen size, and now as I shrink it, it shrinks with the screen. So that way, no matter what size resolution that it opens up on somebody else's computer, it'll be right in the center already. The other thing I want to do is not on the canvas. The canvas is done. It's stuck to the camera as a transparent sticker on the lens, and it's going to scale correctly. So now I want to go to the text, and I'm going to click on this little anchor thing, and I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to anchor it to the middle of the screen, okay? So now as I move around, it anchors correctly. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create a button. So I'm going to go Game Object, create a UI button. Again, I'm going to go Text Mesh Pro. Okay, I'm going to click and anchor it to the middle of the screen. Now I'm actually going to move it down a little bit. So let's take this position X and position Y, and let's move it down. Now you might be wondering, you might say, well, like, wait, I'm in scene view, and I get this crazy, like, I'm down here looking at something else, and it appears like so different. Like, why doesn't it look the way I kind of expect? Well, the reason is this isn't a normal transform. This is a rect transform, which is in pixels, really, rather than game units. And so these pixel resolutions is a totally different universe and coordinate system than the other. And so this has to do with just UI elements and how they show up on a screen, and not inside your game view in terms of game units. You can have the two interact, but for the most part, they usually stay separate. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, so that being said, I've got my button. I'm switching back to game view. Here's my button. I could do a couple quick things with it. On my button, I could say when it's highlighted. Again, I'm going to change all this later. But let's say when I'm highlighted, I don't know, it becomes yellowish. Okay. And then when I'm pressed, I don't know, let's say it becomes reddish. Okay, so now as I hit play mode and I hover over it, it's yellow, and when I click it, it's red. Okay, so that's working. You might think the main menu there, the text is not centered. It's because it's typed, but the alignment is not in the center. So I could change that alignment right here. Now everything looks centered. Okay, now on the button, there's a couple different things. One is there's an image here, which I'm going to change out later, not right now. And then there's also this text. And so I can change this to say, I want to go to the fireworks scene. I can resize everything, but I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, so now the one thing I want to do is have my button actually switch scenes. Okay, so this is before I do anything else. Then I'm going to add a second button. I'm going to go to the others and I'm going to adjust all of their trans. So watch, I'll save this. And I'm going to go to the fireworks scene. Okay, on its canvas, I'm going to do the same changes. I'm going to expand this. I'm going to say it's following the camera. Which camera is this one? And I want it to scale with screen size. I'm going to Control S to save the scene. I'm going to go over here and on this one too. I'm going to go, it's on the camera. Which camera? Whoops, I clicked off of it. It's on this camera and I want it to scale with screen size. Okay, so all that's set up. I Control S to save it. I'm going to go back to the main menu and I want to make this button work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is write a script. I'm going to go back to my main assets folder. I'm going to create a C# script that's just called, I don't know, change level, really generic script. Okay, so I open it up in C#. You can see these gray out because I'm not using them. I'm going to say I want to use Unity Engine .scene management. It's grayed out because I'm not using it yet. I'm going to get rid of these because it's not something I want to always be running. Instead, I just want to have a function that can be called. So I'm going to create a public function that doesn't return a value, and it's called like change level. No, that's already the name of the script. Let's call it change scene or load new level or whatever you want to call it. Okay, and it does one thing. I am just going to say scene manager dot load scene, and then what scene I want it to load, I'll put in here. Okay, now I could manually type in a name or even the number. I could say load the 0, the main menu is the first thing, or load the next scene or the next in order. But instead, I'm going to do it by name so that this can be reused. I'm going to make a public string variable called level name. And that way I can reuse this same script on every single button, and all I'll do is change which level is being loaded, and otherwise I have a functioning button, okay? So I'm going to put level name in here, and that's it. That's my entire script. I can get rid of these grayed out things up here, super succinct, okay? I'll add a comment here. This variable is the level name, so this same script can be used for all buttons. Okay, and then right here on button click, call this method to load the new scene. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to save this. We're going to go back into Unity. Now I just need to put that script on anything in my scene. I'm going to put it on my button because that's what's actually doing something. So on my button, I'm going to drag this script on. Okay, so it's in there. I'm also going to organize this. So I'm going to create a folder for scripts and put that in there. Okay, so now on my button, I've just got to change one thing. Okay, also just a few things to note. One is it generated an event system. If you actually delete this, the event of clicking a button won't get registered. So leave the event system in there to detect actions and events of clicking and interacting with the UI. The other thing too is it draws things in order. So sometimes your text might actually cover part of the button. So be careful. So in other words, this gets drawn first, then button, then everything. So right now the button's going to show up on top of the text. if I were to switch it like this and then move the text on top of the button, now all of a sudden I can't hover and click on certain parts of, see how the button I can't hover or click on? That's a common mistake people run into. So the best fix is put the text first so it's behind, right? That's number one. Wait for this. Oh yeah, my computer's happy. So it's still highlighted and clicked. So that's the best fix. But the other fix is just don't have them overlap. Okay, so on the button, I have my script. So I need to type in a level name. So I go over here. Oh, I wanted to load fireworks. That's the name. I could even click on this and copy the name of the scene to be really careful. So I go over here and go, that's the scene I want to load. Now I need to do two things. I need to tell the button on click to do something, and I need to add to build settings. So first I'm going to go to build settings, and if you're going to change levels at all, you need scenes to be included in your build. So I'm going to drag in the main menu first, so that's the one that loads up when somebody opens our program. And then the other ones, I'm not going to care about the order because I'm going to call them by name, not by their scene number over here. Okay, so they're all in there. Now I can close this. And then I'm going to load the fireworks scene on click. So I add an on click for the button. It says, what game object has this script you're talking about with functions? So you go up here and you drag the button itself onto itself. And you say, okay, so now it knows when I get clicked from this game object call, and here's the script that I wrote, and here's the public method that I wrote. So call that, and it should load the fireworks scene. So I'm going to hit play mode. It is highlighted, and when I click at it, it loads the new scene. Okay, so that's the most basic thing, just setting up. I'm going to Control S to save it, and that'll be the first video. All right. Oh, I can't stop the recording.